We've got some incredible leaks for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet today. You do not want to miss this video. One of the biggest leaks of all time could be coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is nuts. Okay, so I'm not kidding when I say that this is a really big deal if it turns out to be true, and it's all coming from Riddler who has been our very much so inside source. Tons of legitimacy in terms of what they're saying. So this is crazy stuff, and we're gonna get to it in this video. First thing, we're gonna talk about the starters. He puts out a little teaser, a little bit of information regarding what we can see about these starter final evolutions. They've been translated and decoded, and the gist of it is that Sprigatito is like a psychedelic masquerade cat. Psychedelic could also mean like magic or magician. So again, we know, again, further confirmation that Sprigatito is going to be this magical cat. Kind of like Delphox probably, but it's going to be dark typing. Then we've got our Fuecoco evolution, which is translated to Jazz Crocodile. We know that this Pokemon, this new evolution of Fuecoco, is going to have some sort of like bird or phoenix on its head that hatches from an egg in its second stage, and it has a little bit of a musical theme to it. So that'll be really interesting because I can't envision that without it being super cheesy, so I'm not really sure. And then last but not least, Quaxly's evolution becoming the Carnival lead duck. So much based on dancing and kind of that vibe, I guess you could say. So that's what we've got here for the starters. That's what we've got for the starters. Some pretty interesting stuff. For me, I'm still Team Fuecoco. You know, I'm still waiting to see how it's all gonna play out. Let me know which starter you want to see most or you're excited to pick most at this stage. I do think we will get stage 2 starters pretty soon, right? Like we're a month away. So I would say in the next 2 weeks, we'll probably get middle stage starters. And oftentimes that could be a big kind of decision maker for a lot of people. However, middle stage starters can also look super awkward. I'm a big Quilladin fan, but most people don't like it that much. I think Braixen looks cooler than Delphox. So, you know, it could be either or. So we can't really get too caught up in that, but very interesting stuff nonetheless. We've got a little bit of a story leak here. It's not too big of a deal, so if you're like not a story spoiler person, I don't think this is that big of a deal in terms of like ruining the story for you, but it's an interesting thing. He goes on to say that one gym was closed down before the story started. Guess which type stunk? I don't know what he's trying to say there. You can see its ruins on the map. So one of the Elite Four members stepped down and regained the title of gym leader. No wonder their gym locations are closed. So there are two gyms that are very, very close to each other in kind of the tundra area of the map. In the very kind of northmost part of the map, there's two gyms that are right next to each other. They're right on top of each other. That is what I think the Riddler is alluding to, but some interesting story stuff here that there was a gym that closed down. I'm sure it'll be part of the story. And then one of the Elite Four members is like, all right, I'll take over the gym for now, and we'll see how this all kind of plays out. So very interesting stuff. Again, you know, not any huge story spoilers. It could be the ghost type gym. That's what a lot of people are speculating because we know that the ice type gym is probably up there. So what's the one near the ice type gym, right? Is it ghost or something else? So that'll be interesting to kind of see how it all plays out. Also, I know you guys are getting excited for Halloween at the end of this month, and we launched a brand new line of shirts at teamshiny.com. You can pick up these sweet, spooky designs and use code SPOOKY to get 15% off your order. That's on one shirt or more shirts or whatever. So this is a really big sale for us, so make sure you guys take advantage of it and snag some of these sweet designs. We got all sorts of stuff, other ghost types, and much, much more. So deck out your closet at teamshiny.com. Don't miss out because this code is only gonna last for a little while. So enjoy it, get those shirts in. And now the big bomb of the video. Ku discusses DLC and new PKHEX-like feature that will be added. Okay, the Riddler says DLC has some cool features, but you have no chance to know them in advance. I'll reveal a little bit. PKHEX-like features, don't miss it. I can't wait for early game leakers to post pics of 3 new Pokemon that will not be in the base game of Scarlet and Violet. That could be in reference to Suicune and Virizion Paradox forms and them being leaked because they're supposed to be in DLC, but they're not. But the biggest thing here is the PKHEX-like features. This could be the biggest leap forward for the Pokemon franchise from a competitive perspective that we've ever seen. So for those who don't know what PKHEX is basically a hex, I believe a hexadecimal editor of Pokemon. So when you have a Pokemon, it's basically a data file, and you can translate that onto your computer essentially if you have the right hacking tools and stuff like that. And then you can open this program PKHEX and you can edit the values of this Pokemon. You can change, you know, its gender, you can change its IVs for its attack, you can change its moveset. And you can do this legally or illegally, and the game will decide whether or not it fits within the parameters or constructs that it defines in the game. But what people generally do is, let's say they need a competitive, you know, perfect IV Moltres with 0 speed or whatever, or Stakataka, let's say, with 0 speed. They would catch the Stakataka, they would put it into PKHEX, they would edit the IV value for the speed stat to be what they want, and then they would put it back in their game, and nobody would really know any different. Except for the fact that we kind of do, because we have someone in the community, PKHEX, who likes to expose these competitive players for using illegitimate teams. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to discuss the legitimacy of competing in Pokemon. I'm here to discuss the fact that this could be the biggest leap forward for the competitive franchise ever. This idea that you will be able to customize your Pokemon in-game without having to do the IV training or the EV training or the bottle capping at level 100 or the, you know, all these different factors that come into play that are very time consuming, they're very expensive in game. And listen, I've done it. I've competed. I'm someone who can legitimately sit here and tell you that when I competed, I used legitimate Pokemon. I used shinies that were caught on stream. I remember actually competing with a 13 speed IV shiny Bronzong just because I wanted to use a shiny Bronzong, despite the fact that I was at a competitive disadvantage from using a 0 speed Bronzong, especially since I was using Trick Room and Gyro Ball on that exact set, thus making it even less useful than it would have otherwise been. So again, I'm not here to discuss how people play the game. I don't care about that, but I do care about the fact that this could be so big. The ability, the fact that you're allowing players with limited time to be able to get into it. I've never felt that competitive Pokemon should be about preparing the Pokemon. It should be about the battle itself. That's how I see it. So if Pokemon were to give players all of the tools that they need to be able to compete at the highest level without the time investment to do it, the entry level, the barriers to entry for competitive Pokemon would be removed or at least reduced drastically for many people. And I think it could be a huge catalyst and proponent in growing the competitive scene for VGC, which is something that I care a lot about. I mean, I don't compete anymore, but I did at one point. I was doing the circuit and I actually had a great time. It was really fun meeting people and competing, and I'm a competitive person, so I really enjoyed that. And I think that this, if this is true, which I have no reason to doubt it considering who it's coming from, the Riddler coup, this is big. This is, I cannot understate or overstate how massive this is, in my opinion. This could be huge. And then from there, we've got a couple tips from the Riddler saying, adventure tip number 1, keep an eye on the picnic features. They'll provide valuable buffs. I think we kind of figured that out, right? Buffs to catching Pokemon or maybe in battle, or much like the refresh kind of functionality where your Pokemon will dodge attacks and stuff. I'm not a big fan of it, but I get it in the lore of the game. And then tip number 2 says, some 3-stage new lines are hard to use in the adventure. Better catch the ones you're familiar with. By the way, and then some Chinese characters is good. So I'm not sure what the Chinese characters are referring to. I'm like looking at the comments. I don't know what that is, but some other things that come off of this that I think are worth noting. Someone said, is Smoliv evolution strong? He says so-so. So he doesn't like confirm Smoliv evolution being strong or weak or whatever, but just saying, hey, you might have a harder time using some of these 3-stagers just because, you know, you might not get to them at any point in time in the main game or whatever it is. So just worth mentioning there. But that's kind of the tips there from him, the picnic stuff, that. But again, this video was really about the PKHEX-like feature. I mean, this could be monumental, guys. I cannot express enough how big this could be for competitive Pokemon and just people who want to play the game, for sure. So that's it for today. I do think that there's going to be some new updates over the next week or so. There's someone swirling around saying the game is going to leak at this point. I don't believe that personally. I think we're still a few weeks away from the actual game leaking, so I wouldn't hold your breath on that. But you can go pick up some Team Shiny merch over at teamshiny.com. Deck out your closet for Halloween. We got some sweet, spooky designs, so check those out with code SPOOKY. And that's going to be it for me, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.